So I'm Shlomo, my full name is Simon Shlomo Khan, Shlomo is my middle name, and I'm a beatboxer, which means I make music with my mouth. Chime! Like that. Beatboxing is where you have to make music using just your voice. So some people, when you say that, they're like, oh, what you mean singing? No, it's nothing like singing. You do singing, but you also do everything else that you'd hear in a normal music track. You just have to do it all with your voice. So the drums, the bass lines, the scratching sounds, guitar sounds, all the music, you've got to do it all yourself. You just have to practice all the time, you know, like you just have to keep jamming. So I'll just be walking around, I'll be like, oh, what was that? It'll take me like 20 minutes to figure out how I made this kind of sound. So you just have to be prepared to experiment and play around and find your own voice, you know. I use a performance tool called a loop station, which is like a loop pedal basically. And the cool thing about that is you can layer up your voice and you can start to create much more structured music with your beatboxing. Well, you can use it with any music, but it works really well for beatboxing. First thing I thought when I saw the game was like, okay, am I going to be able to do this? Because I'm so useless at computer games. So I started placing a few blocks, but it's so satisfying when you play. You're always rewarded with the music. So it's just like, straight away I was like, oh cool, I want to get more of these blocks so I can hear what's going to happen next. This game is perfect for people who like have OCD and they like tidying up, because basically you need to tidy everything up and then it will reward you with a nice piece of music. Well, what was interesting about our recording session was I didn't have a piece of music written before I came. I just plugged all my stuff in and just started looping and just started kind of improvising a song, which was really nice because it was really like, it kind of captured the mood of that day. It was just a real spontaneous piece of music. So then to see that spontaneity then kind of chopped up and mashed up and then put into the game is really interesting, because the game's very spontaneous as well. And I think in a way you've got that same energy, you know, you're actually remixing it spontaneously, and because the piece of music was created on the spot as well, it's really kind of, the energies kind of really go together really well. It needed to fit a certain grid, so when we were recording the tune, it needed to stay in the same tempo, and what happened is the tune's got two sections and they're in different time signatures to each other. So the first one's like a it's like in a compound time, like a 6/8 time. But then the actual, once you kind of get a little bit further on in the level, it turns into this like big fat rave tune, which is like, and that's like in 4/4. So we had to do a little bit of clever thinking about how to make the tune fit within the grid, which was quite fun. I quite like having a creative limitation, you know, it forces you to come up with a new way of doing it, and that quite often creates interesting results. So I wrote the track and kind of created the piece, but I'd say Joe from Zoe Mode, he really produced it for me, you know, he really helped shape the piece, and then he kind of translated it into Chime language, do you know what I mean? Because what I gave him was a kind of Shlomo brain dump, and he basically converted that massive pile of musical data into a playable game, and that must have taken him a lot of time and effort, and he really understood musically where I was going with it as well, which is really important. I mean, you wouldn't be able to make a game like this if you weren't a musician, and I think he really is a musician, and that's really great. I think it's really good that Chime have got such a diverse range of artists performing, like Philip Glass and Moby and people like that are so different, and Plaid, they're all from like different walks of music. So I think it's going to be, if you think of the game almost like a kind of compilation album, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's an interactive album that you're buying there. So it was obviously really important that Chime chose the right people and kind of curated that album in a way. I think Chime's a great way of getting music out there, you know, because the kind of person who'd be excited by a puzzle game might not necessarily know that much about an artist like Plaid or Philip Glass or me. So it's just a really, really lovely way to bring together two different worlds in a way that isn't contrived, you know. There's actually, this is a project where the music and the game have completely grown together.